I suppose I started sort of speaking out on social issues that I felt passionate about when the Tories got elected in 2015. Just the idea of austerity and all the cuts that were being made and the way it was being framed, so that was the only option, and just the idea of the amount of people who would suffer because of that. I just found it all to be grossly unfair, and so I went on a couple of protests. I didn't really realise that it would sort of get as intense as it did. Really, I just sort of went as a civilian, not to sort of lend any weight from a celebrity point of view or whatever. But it sort of turned out that way, and then I felt like it was part of my civic duty, but also just to, I know this is really cheesy and everybody always says it, but use whatever platform I have to speak out about things like this. And a lot of that was influenced from the Leveson inquiry, and lots of what I learnt there, including how close press and government are, which I found shocking. I didn't really understand the extent to how deep and corrupt that relationship really was. So that was an eye-opener, but also then meeting different women's groups like No More Page 3, Everyday Sexism, groups like that, which just started to make me see more of how the world actually is, and the veil fell, if you will. I've had lots of different reactions since I sort of started speaking more politically. Lots of people, when I see people out in the street, just say, well done, I really agree with everything you say, and thank you for speaking up, and sort of things like that, which is lovely. And then, of course, you just get the online trolls, half of whom may be bots, for all we know right now, considering the way that data collection and the way that things are being swayed, etc., online. So I know that there's a lot of profiles that I'm starting to realise who's not who they say they are, and it generally follows quite a similar pattern. They generally post a picture of a really attractive, maybe late teen looking woman, and then say horrifically misogynistic things. And then I'm sort of like, either you're a bot, you're literally an algorithm and you're not real, or you're an old man. Just spouting absolute hatred and filth. But yeah, it's just sort of like, it's a tiny, tiny percentage of people. So even though some of it is absolutely vile, you just got to keep it in perspective for, how few individuals actually do that. And some of them really get off on it. So it's best just to just leave them be. So generally I tend not to block people, because sometimes they view it as a real result when you block them. So I tend to just mute people. If there is no constructive conversation to be had, or if they're just being such complete arseholes that I can't really bear it, then I just mute them. The political issues which are most important to me at the moment are very changeable daily. Also, I've become quite disillusioned, like the majority of everybody else. When you look at Trump in America, and just the rise of the right throughout Europe and in the UK, Brexit, which is a complete shambles. So I feel a little bit lost at sea at the moment in terms of where to direct my energy. And I feel like it should probably be something a bit more localised, something a bit more community-based, which can actually make a difference, because I feel like the right has got such a grasp on the conversation on anything that is going to the nation at the moment. There isn't much dialogue. Even when we do hear from Number 10, it's generally incredibly guarded. We're given absolutely no information. So I can't really see a way through at the moment, and I can't see where to put my energy. But it'll come in time. I haven't given up. I'm just trying to figure it all out, what's best to do. I've obviously considered building a commune on an island somewhere warm. But everybody keeps dissuading me from doing that, so it would be sustainable and ecological and gorgeous and full of teachers and nurses and lovely people and artists. I think my politics and my art are connected intangibly, even though it has not been obvious to anybody else or me throughout my career. I mean, obviously I've done things in a, sort of bizarre way, and I was a child star, and I've tried my hand at all different sorts of things. I've really just sort of followed the breeze wherever the wind blew me, and tried out lots of different things, which has been amazing and challenging. But I think it's getting more likely to become more socially aware, if not necessarily more political. I think, sort of rabble-rousing songs for the people are quite difficult to write, quite difficult to sort of not make, like self-help songs, But certainly in the next couple of years, I'm going to make an album. A lot of that is going to be about being a woman nowadays. But yeah, I think I'm pretty intuitive with anything that I make. So, I mean, however that comes out is however it comes out. But I've never really consciously thought I want this to be politically aligned a certain way, because everything's a bit more mellifluous than that, and sort of it's art, and it's got to mean different things to different people. So I think when it's got one super clear, straight message, then you're sort of missing the point a little bit. How do we deal with Donald Trump? The hippie in me just goes, well, by castigating anybody, you never really get anywhere. By constantly disciplining, if you treat people like children, which we all sort of essentially are, if it's always the stick and never the carrot, or just too much stick and not enough carrot, then people don't react well to that. People really react well to love and praise and encouragement, and they don't react so well to being castigated and people being austere towards them and being blamed for things. Not that should be entirely avoided, and not that, peace and love is the answer to everything, which of course it is, but but obviously people have got, there's an issue with patience then, because it's hard to do that all the time when there's so many hateful people who are hell-bent on seemingly selfishness and destruction and, all of the worst human traits. But I don't know, I sort of think you just sort of go back to how you deal with children, but with a lot of adults as well. I just think lots of people just need quite a lot of people need support and care and love and understanding. I read something about there's a tribe in Africa where if somebody does something wrong, then the whole community surrounds them for 2 days and tells them everything that they've done right. Just reinforces all of the good things they've done right in their life, so as not to, point the finger and blame, and you did this wrong and you will be sent away like, we would in our society. And I just think that's interesting. It's an interesting way to look at it. And I think in terms of our psychology, we've got so much to learn, and that's all opening up now. I think that so many psychologists are sort of throwing out the rule book of what we used to do, and when you look at prescription medication and depression and the rise in anxiety and these sort of issues, I think we need to start looking far more neurologically of how the brain is actually working and how that's related to everything in these little mad loops that we create for ourselves, and how we're all just sort of acting out everything that we've been taught. So, and we never stop learning. So there's always a chance for people to change. But maybe that's really optimistic, though, isn't it? Or we build a commune and just go to a lovely desert island somewhere. I don't know. Wales has not fared well in the Union of Britain for quite some time. We had a lot of funding from the EU. The fact that Wales voted out was a real shock for a lot of people in Wales, which obviously was a Labour heartland, but at least a left-wing heartland. I think people have been so manipulated with the constant misinformation, with the fear-mongering, all the things that were said at the time. I've pretty much always been for Welsh independence. So I would like to see Wales start moving in the same direction as Scotland is, just to start thinking about how we could do it. If we could be independent, how would that look economically? What would we do? How could we make it work? We're only a small population. There's only 4 million people. So obviously, when you're looking at the whole of the UK, it's a much more complicated picture because there's so many more people. But for Wales, there's sort of a manageable population. So I think there are many things that we could do which would enable us to become independent. And I think that we've been overlooked for many years, left just like a poor relation with hand-me-down clothes, and tin beans, nothing but tin beans for years. And it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable for that to continue. We've got some of the worst poverty in the whole of the UK. Our per ratio amount of money we get per person for the NHS, etc., is shockingly low compared to other parts of Britain. And I feel like we're starting to lose our national identity, and I don't want to see that happen, and I'm going to fight as much as I can to not see that happen. But it seems we've got a little bit of Stockholm syndrome with England at the moment, and we're just sort of slowly being subsumed. And I'm not happy about it at all. So I don't know. Again, that's something else. But all of these things, there's big things, big shifts going on politically all over the world. And I'm just trying to figure it out and figure out how to best put my time and energy into something which will be constructive. What I learned from being a child star is never put your child on the stage. No, I learned loads. I learned absolutely loads because I travelled so much. And through travelling, that is massively mind-opening. You get to see different cultures and languages, and it was an incredible experience, but it was a lot of work as well. So I was working silly long days, and then however many days out of the year traveling, jet lag, still doing 3 hours of tuition a day, and then when I came back to Cardiff, still going back to school, just being with all my friends who they were totally disinterested in what I was doing, so they would just be straight on to the gossip of what was going on, what had been going on back home, and who had copped off with who at Zeus's under 18 disco, and all of that important stuff. I suppose I learned to compartmentalise pretty well, and I learnt about perspective, because I came from a working class family and then was catapulted into this amazing situation with lots of extravagance and fancy hotels, but then would come back to my family who was still exactly the same, and my friends who were all exactly the same. So it gave me a good idea of a lot and a little, just a good perspective, I think, and what was important. Where I would like to see music go next is that people treated it like they treat other art forms. If you are going to watch a great TV program, or if you're going to get Netflix, or if you're going to go to the cinema, or if you pay for it. You pay for it because it costs a lot to make, and people have to make a living, and somewhere along the line, music, more so than any of the other art forms, the idea of its worth has been lost. So people aren't willing to pay for it. People want to stream, people want their music for free. And you look at a model like Spotify, and apparently not even Spotify has made any money from Spotify. So the artists aren't making money, the corporation isn't making any money. So, do you know, and it just like the worth has gone out of music, and it needs to be brought back, because I think more than anything else, to take it back to a human level again, more than TV programs, more than poetry, more than drawn art or painting, people need music. Music is the thing that connects us. It's like one of the most visceral, emotional experiences you can have, that helps you heal or, you know, work things out, and brings back memories. So I think, yeah, I the way I would like to see music go is that people remember its worth and are willing to actually pay for it again would be great.
Yeah, definitely.
So next for me, last year we happened upon creating a band called Charlotte Church's Late Night Pop Dungeon, which basically Stuart Lee, the comedian, was curating an All Tomorrow's Parties, which is like a real chin-stroking muso festival, and said, do you want to do something there? And I was like, yeah, it'd be great, love to do something there. I've been making EPs out of my garage at home and self-releasing and experimenting musically and just doing, you know, whatever I want creatively for a bit, which has been lovely. But that, you know, the last EP I'd released was maybe like 2 years ago, so I was like, right, it doesn't really feel right to do that. All right, well, maybe we should create the best covers band in the world. So basically we do sort of like, it runs a bit like a DJ set, but it's with a big live band and 5 backing singers, and it's all incredibly fun. We basically, everything sort of melds into the next, into the next, into the next. So you'll get 9-inch Nails next to Basement Jaxx, next to Prince, next to Christina Aguilera. So we traverse many different musical landscapes. And yeah, and the whole point of it really is the fact that we are in such dark times at the moment, and so often everything feels so heavy and laden, that this is just about everything being sparkly and beautiful and wonderful and joyful. And that's what Pop Dungeon is. So we're going on tour. It's starting April the 1st in Leeds, and we go to Manchester and Glasgow and Belfast and Dublin and Brighton and Birmingham, and then we've got lots of gigs throughout festival season, and then I'm going to make an album. I haven't made an album since I was like 22? My God, is it that long? Yeah, I haven't made an album for quite some time, so I'm going to make an album, and that's my plans. So just music. I've been offered lots of different sort of avenues, places to go down. And I've done a lot of that, and I've explored a lot of that. And I had a Channel 4 show, and I've done bits and bobs of comedy and films. But I'm 31 now, and music has always been my passion, and singing has always been my passion, and I've meandered around it a little bit. But I'm going to get absolutely smash on, serious, and maybe educate myself further as well. Start learning instruments and furthering my vocal training and stuff. Just becoming a bit more of a student again.